I'm going to go through the sense-making process.
Okay.
Right? As soon as I get on this call with you, I'm new to you. So what does that mean I know? I know that you don't want to be on this call with me.
True.
Avoidance, I can assume coming in. So what I have to do is I have to keep investing enough to get through the avoidance phase. Well, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to invest in this conversation? I'm going to pull as much as I can from verbal and nonverbal cues that you give me. I'm going to look at the decorations on the wall behind you. Whether it's in person or whether it's virtual, I'm going to try to pull from my environment. I see that you're using an iPad. I see that you actually like to write on your iPad. I see that you use different colors when you write on your iPad. I also see there's a journal under your iPad. I can assume that inside that journal are handwritten notes that are actually done in pen and ink, right? There's certain things that I can start to observe. You have a very clear, you put clear effort into the way that you shave your face. You have a very handsome look to your hair.
Thank you so
keep
much.
Things short.
You've got the job. You've got the job. No, I don't need to hear. It's yours.
But I'm going to pull from all of this for the competition phase of the sense-making process. Because all I need to do to get you to comply with my wishes are to get the job. What I need to get you to comply with the wishes, I need you to engage in a conversation with me that is competitive, meaning you will invest in me and I will invest in you. Think about don't think of competition like a zero-sum game with a winner and a loser.
I hear competition, I hear arguing.
That's what most people hear. Most people think of competition as zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses the competition. Think of it more like a scrimmage in your favorite soccer team, where like the red shirts play the green shirts, but it's still the same football club, right? They have spring training for baseball in the United States. It's all the Yankees, but they're just playing the Yankees to practice with each other. What are they doing? They're competing. They're honing their craft through competition. They're investing in each other, right? They're pitching and batting and trying to strike each other out and trying to catch each other at the bases, but it's all for themselves. It's all to improve the whole of the team. That's the competition that exists in the sense-making process. I want to invest in you with my thoughts and my ideas and my questions, and I want you to invest in me with your thoughts and your ideas and your questions. And yes, sometimes they will be different, but in the difference, we will find the similarity. And regardless of whether we find differences or similarities, we are filling the cup of investment to get towards compliance.
Okay, so give me a specific example of how you might get me to go into that competition with you.
Okay, so I'm going to start. In an interview, most interviewees expect that the interviewer will ask most of the questions.
Yeah.
I would challenge anybody going into a job interview, ask more questions than the interviewer.
Really?
Ask more questions than the interviewer, because when you ask questions, especially open-ended questions, it makes the person you're talking to feel like they're interesting, feel like they're important, feel like they're special. And guess what's not going to happen with any other interview that day? Nobody is going to ask them questions. So if you were interviewing me for a job and we met on the phone, I would say, Stephen, thank you very much for making time to talk to me. How's your day today?
It's been great, thank you.
I'm really excited for the job, but one of the things I have a question about right away is when I look you up online, it looks like a lot of what you do is marketing, but I don't know if it's like social media marketing or if it's more like an internet marketing like advertising. How would you characterize the core function of the business?
It's kind of both. We do all of the above, paid marketing, all kinds of marketing.
Which one is your favorite?
And my favorite's probably social media marketing, I think. But
is it because social media is like so dynamic and always changing, or do you like social media marketing for some other reason?
Yeah, and also I think it's very much the future in many respects. So I think it's the fastest growing medium. So that's kind of where we focus.
I also think it's the future. And I spend so much time on social media, and my family spends so much time on social media that I really feel like if you want to connect with somebody, you have to be in the social media world because it feels like a simulated relationship.
I completely agree. So, and then I'd start asking the questions. And
you would ask a question, and then I would answer your question, but I would still continue to show investment into you by asking questions.
And what does that do? So I come away from that interaction, and you've asked me a lot of questions. What do I come away feeling?
You tell me. What does it feel like when people ask you questions?
Feels like you're building a relationship. Feels
like you care. Feels like you've thought critically before you came here.
Yeah.
Feels like you prepared. Feels like you're curious.
And there's two opposites. One opposite is I just pepper you with questions and then you leave. And the other opposite is that someone that just talks the whole like you pepper me with questions. I've had a couple of interviews, and I remember two last week. Part of my feedback was I basically didn't say anything. And it's funny, I actually said to my chief of staff, I said, oh God, this interview was an hour long. And I go, gosh, I didn't say anything in the whole hour. And do you know what I came away feeling? I came away feeling that if that's what the job working with them is going to be like, I don't want to work with them. Because for 1 hour I sat there and this person just like at me. And now you say it, now I kind of understand why I felt that way. Because you do want people to ask you questions. And I think it's that, but also part of me was worried that every day this person is going to just like kill my eardrums. Or is it just the ego part where I'm just like, be interested in me? I don't know. Or is it both?
Well, first of all, I am not advocating peppering with questions.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we don't give anybody the mistaken idea that rapid fire questions are the way to go.
Yeah, I was giving short answers. This is the problem.
It's all good, because what the core thing to understand here is you didn't like being spoken at. They were talking all the time, which means they weren't asking you questions.
They asked me, we're in an hour interview. They asked me 0 questions. And when I said to them, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, they asked me 1, but that was actually just teeing them up for another 20 minutes. Another 20 minutes. And I remember I walked away and logically I rationalized it to my team. I was like, I think that person would be quite difficult to deal with because I think they'd be quite distracting.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular role is working alongside me personally every single day. And I just thought, gosh, I'm not going to get anything done. But maybe that was a prefrontal cortex response.
I think that your decision was 100% correct. But what I want to do is I want to juxtapose that process against the person who would have asked you questions.
Which I experience a lot.
So if people ask you questions, how do you feel at the end of those calls?
I feel like the person, I feel like they're more thoughtful and I feel like they're smarter, because why the hell would you come to an interview and not ask the person questions? You're also making a commitment for your entire life to this company, this job, to this person. You want to make sure it's correct. So a smart person would be interviewing me as well, because they value themselves.
So if I wanted to win you as the interviewer,
yeah,
and I wanted to win that by making you feel like you and I were similar people.
Yeah, exactly.
What you just said is, why the hell wouldn't you ask a bunch of questions? Which makes me think that what you believe is if you want to work for a company for the rest of your life, you want to go in there asking a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes in asking questions to you, that checks the box of this person is thoughtful, this person is committed, this person is responsible, this person is doing what I would do.
Yeah.
And that means on the sense-making, know, like, trust framework, you're going to fall into trust for that person much faster than you're going to fall into trust for the person who comes and word vomits on you.
Mm.
And that's all we're doing. We're not saying that every employer is going to be the right employer for you. But what we're saying is if you want to take your probability of winning an interview from, I don't know what my probability is, to you have a solid, predictable 30% chance of winning this interview, it really is as simple as going in there with the idea to win the interviewer. Read their body language, listen to their verbal cues, hear the things they talk about, reflect and mirror their behavior and their terminology, their tone of voice, how fast the cadence of their speech, reflect that back to them, and then use this process of asking questions, open-ended questions that give you more information that you can turn into knowledge, that you can ask questions about to create that flywheel of information, knowledge, and experience that we talked about.
This framework that you call RICE, reward, ideology, coercion, ego. After you said that, I started to kind of see it everywhere in my life. And even in the context of an interview, I notice it sometimes now. Can you explain what the framework is before we start talking about it? Because you're better explaining it than I will be.
So RICE is a framework that we use to understand the core motivations that exist inside of all people. And it's an acronym. R stands for reward, I stands for ideology, C stands for coercion, E stands for ego. And the idea is that the core motivation of all people to do anything that they would ever do, the motivation, not the manipulation, but the core motivation is tied to one predominant of those 4 core motivators, and the other 3 are always still present, but at a lower level. So just like you said, once you recognize that all people are motivated by these same 4 core motivations, you do see it everywhere.
So in terms of strength, you said to me last time that ideology was the strongest.
Correct.
I think you then said that ego was the second strongest.
Correct again, sir.
You said reward was the 3rd strongest and coercion was the weakest.
Yes, sir.
I know this because I did a tour and I played you saying that in every country that I went to on stage for about 2 minutes, so I know this shit really well. My memory is not that good. I've been talking about this to about 35,000 people in Australia and everywhere.
I am flattered to have traveled with you all over the world.
Well, yeah, I've got some photos I'll show you later. But as part of that, I really started to see it everywhere else in my life. So I'd come to an interview with a candidate, and the candidate would turn to me, and I would hear them repeating back to me things that I've said in my book or things that I've said in an interview. So people know that I'm very pro like experimentation, for example. And I use this, like increasing my rate of experimentation, increasing my rate of failure, terms that I use. 1%, I use this term all the time to describe marginal gains and this sort of marginal process of improvement. And so I would come to interviews, and I started to notice that people were like repeating my ideology in business back to me in those interviews. And it fucking worked. Like, even though I knew it. And one of the things I did actually is I went back through my own personal history, and I looked at key moments where my life had changed. So in the first email, this is the email that got me my first investor, which took me from being this broke shoplifting student to being a business person, and then sent me on my mission. And then this is the email that got me the camera equipment, which helped me launch the marketing of my business. It got me £10,000, about £10,000 worth of free camera equipment. And these were both cold emails that I sent. And with your framework in mind, I went back to kind of try and understand where I deployed these elements of reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. And I think they're quite present in my emails. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got the email in front of me. So anyone that's watching this on video can take a look at this email if you want to see what I was like when I was that age. I want you to tell me how good I did in terms of reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. And I'll put this on the screen. If you want to, because it is screen recording, you can circle the parts you're referring to so everyone else can see.
Hello, sir. My name's...
Did I spell it wrong?
That is awesome. So my name's Stephen Bartlett, and you definitely... I can see why you are struggling academically.
Yes, I can't spell.
An 18-year-old guy from the UK with an entrepreneurial head on my shoulders. I have ran several small businesses since I was 12 and made relatively decent amounts of money doing so. Last year, I was featured on a BBC program here in the UK for being a young entrepreneur, and I was given a few nice things along with that, but that doesn't really mean much to me.
This is so embarrassing.
For the last 4 months, me and a friend have been working tirelessly on an exciting new project that I want to share with you. This is really sweet to see the 18-year-old you here, man. I've been tuned into your blog for a long time now, and I'm familiar with your story, so I would love your opinion of what I'm doing. So this is really good stuff. Your blog, your story, your opinion. It also shows that you were researching him in advance, which makes me feel like the only reason you're reaching out to this person at all is because you already know that your story mimics his story.
Correct. He actually had started a pretty similar student website in the same city. It had gone so well, it had been sold, and he now lived in Monaco and was like a super rich millionaire.
Was this person did they also struggle in school?
I actually don't know. I don't know that much.
So that's super interesting to me. Okay, I'm going to keep going. All the designs attached in the document are my own. That's interesting too. You're basically giving away IP up front and showing that you prepared more than just writing an email, which is, again, feeding into some of the ego and the reward, because this person is, whatever they see in that document, they're going to benefit from it. I made on Publisher, and at the moment, I have no expertise in web design whatsoever. I'm at the stage now where I'm looking for a mentor investor to guide me in getting the website live. So please let me know what you think. This was super smart, not asking for an investor, but asking for a mentor. Because what that did is it deloaded the pressure. So if they had read this far, if they got to this place, you weren't asking for money. You were potentially just asking for some attention and some guidance. Let me know what you think. Although we have had a few cheeky offers from local venture capitalists, we are still looking for the right person. And after reading through your website, I believe you are that person. Kind regards and thanks for your time, Steve Bartlett. So it's interesting to me because you made a very strong ego play with referencing all of his success.
Yeah.
The ego was the strongest thing that you leaned on. Showing that you were aware, showing that you knew the person, knowing that the story was going to resonate with him. You may have accidentally also, honestly, man, seeing the typos that are in here, you may have accidentally triggered a response inside him that was reciprocity. Either somebody gave him a chance when he didn't know if somebody would give him a chance, or maybe he struggled in school, or maybe he has a son or a sister or a brother who struggled in school, because your typos are really quite significant. There's no way somebody would read this and think that you were a well-educated 18-year-old. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you may have really struggled. You may have accidentally stumbled into something awesome. I don't know if you're still in contact with this person, but I would ask that question. We've got 4 core motivators. Ego is very clear. Every time you talk to them or this person about them, you're stroking their ego. And you're not doing it in a glaring way. However, ideology is the strongest of the motivators. When I see you say that you were an 18-year-old guy from the UK, what goes through my head is the ideology of who doesn't want to give a brave kid writing them an opportunity. What millionaire out there, what decimillionaire or centimillionaire or ultra high net worth, if they get the email at all, who doesn't want to at least give this 18-year-old brave, brazen kid a chance? Because you know what? I would have done something like this when I was 18, right? And now you could be tapping on ideology without even knowing it.
Well, he did. He did. He started a student website in the same city at roughly the same age.
So there you go. You already knew that there were going to be commonalities between the two of you. You were winning the interviewer just as much as you were leveraging the Rice framework.